Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to talk about color correction and color grading. I have my buddy, Dave Andrade, with me, color correction aficionado grading expert. Hey, welcome to the stream, Dave.
Hello, thank you. Hold on one second. I'm getting a little bit of echo here, and I think I know why.
Live streams,
Yep.
they never go quite right.
Hello. Good.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Hi,
Hey,
everybody.
thanks for coming on.
Not a problem.
Dave, I ran into him, I don't know, we somehow connected on YouTube. And
I wanted to interview you a while back.
that's right. Thanks, man. And we ended up meeting up at NAB and we just had a blast. Well, I had a blast. I think Dave was like,
I did.
"What?"
Yes. Why is this guy following me around?
Exactly. So we met up and we've been good friends. At least I think so.
No, yeah, that makes two of us.
For a while. So Dave is just, he does DaVinci. He also does Premiere. He does color grading. He does color correction. And he does regular videos and reviews on his channel. How did you, I'm curious, like, how did you get, like, did you just wake up one morning and say, I think I'll do color correction and color grading? How'd you get there, man?
Yes, it came in a dream, and then I woke up, and the rest is history. No, like back in like 2010, 2011, you had like the old Film Riot episodes and things like that. And so I was watching a lot of those and what is it? Video Copilot. So I was starting to get into that. So I was at that time I got into a lot of filmmaking kind of things, and then I noticed that you really can manipulate how your footage looks with the color. So I just dove deep. I started jumping into forums and doing a lot of research, playing with all the settings. So that's the 20-second version of how I got into it. But that's basically what it came down to. And then once I started getting into it, just went full steam ahead.
And stupid question time. Like, was it from like did you go, okay, I want to color grade or whatever my videos, or was it like, oh, I'm doing short films and weddings and stuff like that, and this stuff needs to pop?
The second one, pretty much, because I bought my first DSLR and camera, and then I started shooting some footage, messing around with it, and like I said, I started to piece it all together. And then once I did that, I was like, oh, this really, like you said, it makes it pop. It changes the whole aesthetic of how the footage looks. And then down the road, I started getting into shooting some weddings and things like that, bar mitzvahs, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, it just totally transformed the footage. So I really got infatuated with that portion of the filmmaking process.
Cool. That's great, man. Just, I don't know who's here. I don't know if there's like experts and they're ready to jump all over us in case we say something wrong. Or
Which
whatever.
is fine.
Yeah, which is whatever. Can you describe for the audience the difference between color correction and color grading? Because in its simplest form, and I know this isn't true, color correction, clip by clip, color grading, you run it across everything. I know that's true. Can you explain the differences to the people who are watching?
One is more of bringing your footage to the point where you want to color grade. So it's like before you're baking the cake, you're kind of putting everything together, and then you bake the cake. So with color correction, it has to do with neutralizing the footage, like bringing it, if it's flat or log, you bring it to Rec 709. And then if the white balance is off, you bring it there. And it's also comparing two clips. So if you have two different cameras and you try to match them up together, that's part of the color correction process. You kind of want to lay, excuse me, you want to lay a nice base, before you get to the grading. The grading is mostly aesthetic. Like we were saying before, it's mostly the making the footage pop or setting a mood, essentially.
So color correction is it needs to be brighter or darker. These don't look so good. The reds or the colors are a bit dull, adding more saturation. Color grading is I want my entire video to have a certain look, like the teal and orange thing. Is that too simplistic?
Not necessarily, although you can do part of what you mentioned before in the color grading process. So, like you said, as far as making some adjustments on something specific, you can do that in the correction process. But let's say if I was grading this video and I wanted my face to be the prominent part of the scene, I can make a window here, make my face brighter, and make the back darker. So that's still part of the grading process. That'll be like secondary corrections. Excuse me. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is, what you outlined. But you can still do specific corrections in the grading process, which is a lot of what I do, actually.
So let's say I select, this is all in my course. I select the skin colors and I decide to saturate them a bit or change them. Am I color correcting or am I color grading? Or maybe it's a gray area. That's a pun.
Technically, let me back this mic off a little bit.
Yeah.
Technically, it's grading. Anything, because you're not setting the footage up. I mean, I guess you might be right. It would be partially both. Because essentially, you're just adjusting the saturation, but you're doing something to the footage. You're not bringing it to a point that you can address the color grading process. So it would technically be color grading, but gray area, like you said.
Yeah. Which is funny when talking about color correction.
Right.
Here's an interesting question. What color adds what emotion? A really loaded question.
All of them, really. That's a quick answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the typical ones, of course, right? With the blue, it's kind of more of a sad thing, and then more bright, you get the yellows and the oranges and stuff like that. But it's not a hard, fast rule. Technically, you can use whatever color you want. To be fair, if you're doing like a horror movie, you don't want bright, like yellow or orange. So there is some barriers you have to be in. But yeah, for the most part, it's pretty open.
Yeah, I think I think the question is, I'm putting words into other people's mouth. I think the question is, what color evokes what emotion? I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I will.
So many puns here. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're the expert. To say that red denotes terror or horror is not necessarily true, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So it's... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, to me, if I was doing something like horror, I would do something more in the desaturated. So it wouldn't necessarily be a color. It'd be more taking the vibrancy out of it and then adjusting, maybe like I said before with the windows, where you're making everything dark, bring someone's attention to a particular creature or subject or whatever you want it to do.
What do you mean by windows?
Well, the same. It's usually the same with all programs, so DaVinci and Premiere Pro and all that. It's just you select a certain part of the footage, and any adjustments that you make will only happen within that window. I think they're called having as like masks. I think in Premiere Pro.
I have. Hey, it's time for a commercial. This is not really a commercial. I just wanted to show this. This course, which is on sale now, which is going to be done soon because I pre-released it. a whopping $39. What happened was, as I was going through this course, I believe. By the way, this guy down here did the original color course, and I wanted to remake it and update it, and he just didn't have the time. So he's been looking over my shoulder while I've been remaking this course. Don't even think, if you find something wrong in this course, that it's Dave's fault. He's a big, busy guy. But it's almost done. I got a few more lectures to do to wrap it up. On the HL secondaries, I knew about this, but I didn't. But I was going in this lecture, and instead of masking and tracking and everything else, I went through and I show an example where I eyedropper this chair piece. Another example where I eyedropper someone's eyes to select the colors and adjust them in, and eyedropper my face. And what blew me away was that I would then color correct it or change my face black and white or change the background black and white. And in fact, because the colors of my skin aren't changing, it effectively creates a mask and tracks sort of what I'm doing. So if I turned, I don't know, if I had this and I properly eyedroppered this red, assuming there isn't the same red around, and I turn it to green, when I move it around, I've turned this color to green. Same with blue eyes and everything else. My mind was blown, dude. Like, my mind was totally freaking blown because you're in effect selecting the color, adjusting the color, and creating a tracking mask without having to do all the work.
Right. Yeah. It is pretty cool.
And HL cell, it stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. Same in DaVinci. You have those controls, correct?
Yep. Hue, saturation, and yeah, lightness, luminance. Either, I mean, it controls the brightness, basically.
Someone's asking about my cup. I made a cup here that says, now what? Make more videos, make more videos, make more videos. It's a test. The green is off. These need to be white letters. That's my cup. So yeah, I'm sporting a new cup. So don't buy the cup. Luca, what to keep in mind with Technicolor inspired grades?
That is a good question. I'd probably be better off pointing you to there's a few actually I've seen online. It would be better to show than to kind of explain. So I can probably get back to you about that, Luca.
New video.
Yeah. Yep. So keep an eye out for that.
Yay. If you are, from Robert, if you're grading for internet viewing, isn't everyone's display going to be different? From my monitor, I know the answer to this, but this is for you, so you can answer.
Yes, but it's not anything you have any control over. So in other words, make sure if yours looks fine, it is what it is, unfortunately. You just have to let the chips fall where they may. Because if yours is off, that's the primary thing. If yours is off, someone else's monitor could be really pushed, and then your yellows will be really saturated on theirs. So yeah, it will look different on everybody's monitor, but as long as yours looks fine, it is what it is.
I know in the course I cover this. 'Cause remember, this is a basic course. If you want to be a color grading correction specialist, don't take the course unless you want the basics and a jump off point, which my friend is my vector scope. Because whether I'm on that or that or that, the vector scope is going to show me where my reds are, where my greens are, where my face colors are, where my magentas are. And even if my monitor was black and white, because the vector scope, little round thing with little color things, because the vector scope is sitting up there, that monitor could be in black and white, but the vector scope is looking at the video, not your monitor. So
Right.
no matter what environment you're in,
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. If you don't have a color calibrator, or if you don't want to purchase one, that's your source of truth is the scopes. So as long as it looks good on the scopes, like you said, skin tone line, things like that, then you just need to trust the scopes over anything else.
I I wasn't going to go into this, but I do have this question. I have, you know, that monitor doesn't count. It's just an older 1080 TV. I have this awesome monitor. It's hard to see with that on there. Let's do this. Boop. There we go. I have this awesome monitor, and I have this awesome last laptop. And for me, I would like to make sure this is not only correct for my eyeballs, but I want to make sure, like a vector, like if I could put a vector scope on my monitor and a vector scope on this monitor and be able to adjust them, I'd be down with that. How do you do that?
As far as putting the scopes on a different screen, you mean?
As far as adjusting the physical monitors to be color correct.
The software does a lot. If you do the color calibration tools, it does a lot. Laptops are tough because they don't have a lot of settings that you can adjust. It really is tough. You can still make adjustments with as far as the tint and everything like that, and it also depends on what kind of graphics card is in there. If there's like an NVIDIA card or something like in there, that will help. But again, it differentiates from laptop to laptop, really.
Well, you talked about calibration tools for the monitor. I've never used one. What's that all about?
It runs through USB, and then it sends a light on the screen. So it changes your screen to a particular color. There's a sensor on this little device. I don't know if I have... No, I don't have it nearby, but on the screen, it will shoot the light into that sensor, and it will determine how far off the brightness is, how far off the hue is, like the different colors and things like that. And it will do a lot of the background process for you, but it will also just suggest that you change some of the settings on your screen. That's why I said what I said before about laptops, that you're limited with how much you can adjust. With some of the monitors, you can adjust like the Kelvin values. So, but it's tough on laptops.
So I've seen these devices. I think it was you made a video on this. I think it was you. Or maybe you were talking about the BenQ or something. And there's this thingamabob that you would, you come over here and you stick it on this monitor and stick it on this monitor. And because this is all running off a NVIDIA GTX Platinum Gold 60,000, whatever. I don't know. And you attach it to your monitor, and there's software with the device that creates a profile and says, there you go.
Right.
Do I have that right?
Yep. Once it's done with the process, it creates a profile for you. And I have a Windows machine, and you'll see it where if you go into display, it will show, I mean, you obviously go ahead and name it, but it will show which profile it's using to display the monitor. But once it makes its adjustments, it saves a setting for you, and then you go ahead and just load it onto your screen. And you can do that with the laptops, but you can do that with any screen, really.
Because I went out and looked at these, and I was like, there was stuff for like $50, and there was stuff for like $2,000, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Is there any particular device that you've used and you've gone, that works?
I just noticed Tom Buck's comment there. It's Spider X Pro. That's a really good one. I highly recommend that one. And that one I don't think is that expensive. Maybe around $100 or so. I forget, to be honest.
Pro. Spider X. Sorry, I'm looking here. Spider X.
And I think,
I assume this thing?
yep. Actually, that's the one I have too. Yep. It's really, really good. Highly recommended.
And so you basically stick this USB into your computer, I assume. Slap
and
this on top of your monitor. I should probably go look. Oh, there we go. Slap this on top of your monitor. And it has software that says, gotcha. Cool.
Yep.
So we're going to color calibrate this monitor. Then I would stick it over on this monitor. And it goes, cool, got that too. And it basically
It
color
brings-
corrects the physical hardware to what should be correct, right?
as much as it, excuse me, as much as it can. That's when it goes into making suggestions for you as far as adjusting the brightness and everything like that. But yeah, it does some of the background work for you.
Woo! $169.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it though. As far as some of the cheaper ones, I mean, they still function, but this is a known name in the color calibration. I would recommend Data Color.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I've always wanted to do this. I don't care if you use this. I just posted a comment. Affiliate link below.
There you go.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Jake Sloan. Hey, Jake. Hey, Jake's going to be, I think it's next week. Uh-oh.
Next week.
Next week, we're going to talk about drones. And he's the man. I'd love to hear Post-Color Gear thoughts on corrective technical LUTs. And I'd also love to hear Kevin Basic Film rant about orange and teal LUTs everybody sells. For those that are watching, let me just speak for a minute. LUTs stand for Look Up Table. So if I take my camera and I shoot something, and then I want to nail the exact colors in that camera, you apply a LUT to it. It goes into, and it says, oh, that red should look like this. That white should look like this. It looks into a little table, and it applies that to your footage in its basics. You can also do things like, oh, I want a teal and orange LUT grade, and it'll apply that. So, but your thoughts, Dave, on corrective technical LUTs? do you think?
They serve a purpose. It depends on what you're doing. If you're shooting something in log and the company provides like a technical LUT where it brings something, let's say you're shooting a Sony and that's S-Log. So bringing it from S-Log to Rec 709 where it looks kind of like we're looking right now on the stream, nice and contrasty and stuff like that. They serve a purpose. The problem is if you're going to do a lot of grading, because what happens with the LUTs is it puts it in a box, if that makes sense. And then if you wanted to extend it a little more as far as luminance and everything like that, you are a little bit limited. There is a video on my channel where if you're going to apply one of those technical LUTs in DaVinci Resolve, you want to put a node before, because this way you can expand it. I hope I'm not going off the rails there, but you
Go for it.
you can expand it before the LUT, because again, once the LUT gets applied, it kind of puts it in a box, and that's all you're really getting. So they serve a purpose. I recommend it, but if you're going to be doing a lot of stuff after the fact, yeah, I don't know that that's the best. I know DaVinci Resolve has the Resolve color management. It essentially does the same thing, but it doesn't put everything in that box. It doesn't compress everything.
I see. And orange and teal Luts that everybody sells. I think personally, to answer Jake Sloan's question, I think personally you should buy 10 of them or your videos are going to suck. What do you think, Dave?
I think I'm going to create one, and you should buy 10 of them. That'll be out next week.
That's funny. I'd like to talk about, just for a second, we'll get back to the comments. Thanks for the question, Jake. About, this is a big question.
The meaning of life?
42?
Yeah.
You have a YouTube video, and maybe you're going to do some color correction. You have a wedding video. I think you would certainly do some sort of color correction, short film, whatever. What's the, and I know you're good at this, what's your general take on how long do these take? I don't know if there's an answer to that. I'm just curious.
As far as the color part of the process, they all take, I was going to say they all take roughly the same amount of time. I would say a lot of that has to do with editing. YouTube videos are obviously a lot easier than wedding videos because sometimes you're shooting with two different cameras. And then, I mean, not that you can't do that with a YouTube video, but there's a lot more to it. It depends. It really depends. I've gotten used to what I want to do, so it doesn't take me that long. Maybe like 2 hours. Wait, well, again, it depends on the video. I was gonna say like 2 hours, but sometimes not even. I know what I want to do. I know where all the controls are within the program, so it's just like boop, 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 get everything in there and get it done. But a lot of with the wedding videos, for example, the correction process, especially if you're shooting with two different brands, like Sony and Canon, you want to bring those together. So correcting the footage, getting it to that base layer, like I mentioned before, that's the most time-consuming part. As far as the creative grade, like the orange and teal and things like that, that's the easier part. I think orange and teal definitely has its place. It's popular for a reason because the skin colors are orange, and then you bounce it off. Some of the ones online are a little heavy-handed. There's a lot of saturation, and the way you create LUTs is you have to do it off of color balanced footage. So if they're trying to create a LUT off of footage that's not already neutral, then it's going to be pushed a little bit. So if you apply it to a different, even if you apply it to your footage and that's neutral, it's going to look off. So there's a couple good ones out there, but yeah.
So, question from me.
Okay.
Spinny ball, spinny ball, spinny ball.
He's okay,
So-
everybody.
So, again, correct me if I'm wrong. So punny. Correct me if I'm wrong about colors.
Don't steal that from Tom. That's
Yep.
his.
Oh, Tom. Tom. If you don't know Tom Buck, he's the pun master. And hey, I'm going to be sharing a course with you. He's on in a couple of weeks. He's got a podcasting course, which I enrolled in and I'm taking, and it is really good. Anyway, I digress. Woo, back onto the road. My question is, you have LUTs that are more for color grading, but then you have LUTs that are for, as you said, LUTs zero the footage. In other words, if I'm shooting in log it, if you've seen color grading videos before, log and all these different settings that you can put in your camera, they help you to shoot what looks like raw, or you do shoot raw. Sony A7, S3, if I'm shooting in a certain, like S-Log, looks really gray. You're like, what the hell? And you bring it in, you're able to take that S-Log LUT and say, give it to me. And it goes, okay, here's your colors. That is what you're talking about when you're setting a baseline with LUTs, as opposed to a color grade when you go, hey, I just bought Dave's orange and 10 of Dave's orange
Exactly.
and teal LUTs. and I want that look. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. The technical LUTs, like what do you say, Jake? Yeah, corrective technical LUTs. Yep, is essentially what you were saying. Where it looks great, the lock footage looks great, really desaturated, things like that. You have those, and then you do have the additional one where it adjusts mostly your color, but that's not all LUTs are. They can adjust the luminance too, so you have that option in there too.
Hey, if you don't know what we're talking about, I love doing this. Mostly because it's a joke. I love this joke. If you don't know what we're talking about and you want to learn the basics, affiliate link below. That's not an affiliate link.
Nope,
Damn
it's
it.
a link.
Damn it. Here's a great question from Captain Jack. What if you're colorblind? Can you still create good color grading?
Yep. Yep. That goes back to what we were saying before. Can't clear my throat today. It goes back to as far as the scopes. Your scopes are your source of truth. So as long as you get everything where you want it to be, and as long as you know what color represents what, because I know, well, as far as I understand, what color blindness is certain things that blend, I guess. I'm not describing that well, but as long as you know what you're working with. Additionally, complementary colors like the orange and teal that we mentioned before on these scopes, on the vector scope, they're opposite of one another. So as long as you can bring some of the colors where they're doing something like that, where they're opposite one another, that is really a good aesthetic. I use that a lot too, because that also brings attention. What I mentioned before about maybe putting something on your face like a mask and making it brighter and the background darker. You can do the same thing with colors. That's why I kind of have blue behind me, because the blue contrasts with my face. I mean, technically I could have made that teal, but still, it's that color contrast which makes me kind of pop. Well, same thing with you, really. It makes you pop out of the scene.
Yeah. Yeah, again, on the HSL secondaries, I added a quick, sometimes you get lucky video. It's just really short, like 30 seconds. I went through and was shooting myself. I went in there. I took the eyedropper. No, I didn't take the eyedropper. I just used the standard blue. I picked blue, took all the blue out, left me in, and it played. And I was like, that's really cool. But I guess on the colorblind thing, it'd be the same with the monitors. Am I correct? Where even if I'm colorblind, if I'm using that vector scope, I can still see if the colors are correct, right?
Right. Yep. Yep. It shouldn't have that much of an impact, technically. It shouldn't matter that much.
Cool. Tom Buck, I used the Spider X Pro on my monitor. It took about 2 hours to get dialed in, but it changed everything. I love it.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome.
I'm going to have to get one.
And
I don't even know if my monitors are off, but I sure am thinking about it all the time.
it's good because it really is just a one-time investment, and the software prompts you to do it again every couple months because your monitors will drift over time. So it really is just a one-time investment. I know they're, like you showed, it was like $100 and something, but definitely highly recommend.
Yeah, it was $169.
Use Kevin's affiliate link.
Affiliate link below. Yeah, that's cool. Here's an interesting thing. For adjusting a monitor, you can get a LUT that is used to correct the signal going to the monitor.
For the most part, right. Then the monitor to my right is a Ben Q1, and that actually has like a LUT built into it. So that's kind of it might be a little difficult to describe in this environment. But essentially, he has a point there. Essentially, that's what it does. I mean, it really creates a profile for a lot of the monitors, but LUTs are involved in the process.
Oh, I see. It's just like a LUT, a lookup table where you're adjusting this, and then it goes into your system and says, hey, I'm just going to map the correct things over here to the correct things for this monitor and the correct things for this monitor. And I would never do color correction on a TV. But hey, that's just me. That's a cool thing.
That would be the third one too, because that's one that a lot of people don't talk about. You do have the technical and the creative LUTs, but there are monitor LUTs too. So I'm glad he brought that up. So
Yeah.
there is a third option in there.
Well, and I know on, like I have, these 5-inch and 7-inch monitors from, I forget who makes them, Andy Sin. I love saying that. People are like, no, it's Andy Sinny. They have like SD cards on them where you can load a LUT into the monitor so you can see the correct colors and adjust the colors. Yeah. Tom Buck. Yeah. Yep. I'm going to, what else we got here? Oh, yeah. Affiliate link below on both channels. Hey, and don't use your own affiliate links. I'm not going to go into that right now. Someone's wiping the sleep. Just ordered a Spider Link Pro. Thanks for the affiliate link. Hey, nice. Thanks, man. I actually, this is just a me thing. Like, I went out to Jake. I asked him a lot of questions. He was on a live stream. He talked about the Sony a7S III. I had a hard time switching from Canon and the lenses and everything else. I ask people, give me your affiliate link. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, it helps everybody out. Yeah.
Isn't orange and teal just a fad? I think so. What's your opinion on that?
To a certain extent. As far as LUTs are concerned, maybe. I know a couple years back, especially with Osiris, there was a company that put out a bunch of LUTs. Everybody was using that LUT, the M31 LUT. So to a point, but like I said before, the color comparison makes sense because of skin tones. So as far as LUTs, yes, it is well, it was primarily a fad. I don't see many people doing it as much anymore.
Yeah, it seemed like a fad, but and then it started getting pounded on. Teal and orange, people making fun of it.
Right.
Hey, if I used, making this up, red and blue grade, and it was popular with viewers on my videos, like Hollywood, it's popular with people that look, I'd use it. I would. Why not? That's what Hollywood does. It's like, hey, teal and orange sets its particular mood. People like it. I'll use it. Apparently for Michael Finn, orange is a fruit to eat and teal is a beautiful bird.
He's not wrong.
That's awesome.
He is not wrong.
Jake Sloan. Complementary contrasting colors is one of my favorite things to play with when using lighting in the background. Oh, lighting.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. I had a problem with a little while ago. Complementary colors, right? Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had a problem with the word lighting.
No. Not yet. Give me time. I'm sure I'll lose that too. But yeah, yeah.
Was that a joke about old people?
Not at all. No.
Okay, good. Anyway, you were going to say.
No, with his comment there regarding using lighting in the background, even, I mean, something like this too. And I mean, I was just thinking I use that a lot when I do photos and stuff like that, as far as a contrast, exposed for the background, light the foreground. So
Totally.
yeah, but yeah, complementary colors, kind of like I was saying before, the blue and the red.
I've tried purple, red, and different colors. And hey, you know my opinion on this. I bought those lights back there are 2 cheap Home Depot Lowe's clampy silvery lights. And I put 2 cheap LED light bulbs back in them. That's what it looks like without them. It's okay, but it's brown. So there's a clamp light. Whoa. Over here somewhere, and there's one. Boy, I hate this. Sitting down here, Click. That's all it took, about $12. You don't need to buy some $800 RGB light to light your backgrounds. Oh, wait. You need to buy an $800 RGB light. Affiliate link below. Jim Robinson, you have to prep most grades to accept the LUT for a grade like teal and orange. If your background is not neutral, the LUT won't get what you expect. Explain that to me, Mr. Dave.
Yep. Hey, Jim. By the way, that's I was alluding to that before too. If you have to set that base layer, you have to make sure it's neutralized. And again, that's not just white balance; that's exposure too. You want to bring something up to the certain whatever you're trying to focus on. So let's say if you're filming a person, you want to make sure that their face is exposed correctly. Because if it's too dark, even if you put the LUT on, it's actually going to make it look worse. So you want to bring the most important part of your footage to the right exposure level, and then apply the LUT if you're going to end up using the LUT. But yeah, color balancing, things like that, absolutely.
Yeah, it helped me not only making, well, I went through your original course, which helped a lot, and it helped me while making this course, because the course is not, you're going to be a color correction and color grading pro. It's to get you past all the words, the terminology, and simple explanation, and allows people making videos to learn about this, learn the tools, more importantly, set your camera. And one of the things I learned going through this course and in your course, and I've been told this a million times, and I knew it, but having it repeated again and again and again is, and you covered this in your course, if you're going to expose for anything and you have a subject in your video, expose for the person and forget about the other stuff, because otherwise you'll be very sad. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too. A lot of people want to save the sky. I mean, if you can with certain log footage like S-Log or whatever, like when you're shooting, if you can do it, perfectly fine. But if you're outside and you have to expose for the face and the sky ends up blowing out, just let it blow out, because it doesn't matter. What will end up happening is if you underexpose a person, then they'll be in. Then you'll have to bring up the exposure, and then upon doing so, you just introduce the like noise and things like that. So the most important part, if you can get it right in camera, that's the primary thing.
Just so some of our viewers understand this, if you look over here, we're talking log, it looks like this. When you first shoot log, you're going to be like, what? It's all gray, it's all dingy, and what it's trying to do is the camera isn't adding its own color. It's trying to capture as much data, color data, as you can. And when you, for instance, add a LUT to it, then you're able to map those colors. That's when you hear log or C-log or S-log2 or whatever, this is what you're talking about shooting in here, is you get this grayish, uglyish, whatever. This is also why monitors allow you to install LUTs, because when you install the LUT, even though you're shooting in log, you can see what the footage is going to look like after it's graded. Did I explain that? Okay.
Yeah, especially in that circumstance where you can, if you put it on the monitor, you can see what you're going to record, but the camera won't record that, which gives you all the options you need in post to make the adjustments that you need.
Photographers do this all the time. They shoot in RAW instead of JPEG. The reason why they shoot in RAW, with a JPEG file, let's say you get a 5 megabit file. Now you take a picture in RAW, same picture, it's like 25 megabytes. The reason is there's more data, and if you try and color correct a JPEG, it starts breaking up, whereas a log doesn't. Yeah?
Right. Yep. And log gives you more room than the appropriate JPEG. Like if you record in Rec 709, there is RAW for video too, which gives you a lot more information. But Log essentially gives you a lot more information, but it also depends too. If you record log in a smaller 8-bit codec, it does give you a lot more space. So that's when you hear things like 10-bit and 422 and all these other terms. That gives you a bigger bucket to work with. So it's not that you can't shoot log, but if you shoot log in 8-bit as compared to 10-bit, you'll have a lot to work with, but the 10-bit will give you a lot more to work with, especially on the color side.
I just say no, Kevin. I'm hoping
No, Kevin.
for our thank you.
You're welcome.
If we do make it to NAB, assuming it is safe, we're going to have fun. Anyway, you used a word that probably a lot of people in here don't know, which is Rec 709. Could you maybe briefly explain what that is?
Essentially what we're looking at now, everything, well, I shouldn't say everything because they do have HDR and other options on YouTube. I was going to say YouTube, but a lot of the stuff that you've seen on TV and probably what you're watching right now is Rec 709. So as opposed to what you just showed with the log footage, which is very flat, this one is pretty much a finished product. The contrast is where it should be. The colors are where they should be. And as far as saturation goes, probably the best way that I can think to describe it right now, to be honest. But it's essentially what you're looking at right now. That's Rec 709.
It's just a standard for color, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yep.
Here's an interesting one from Jake Sloan. What are some of the better consumer monitors available that have good, accurate color reproduction? That's a good question. I don't have an answer. I think BenQ are expensive, but they're really good. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I was going to suggest BenQ. There are a couple Dell monitors out there. I lean more towards, I actually have two BenQ monitors. They're really good. So as far as consumers concerned, I would definitely recommend it. They do have some lower priced ones. You may lose some of the, it depends. If you want 100% Rec 709, you can get that on a lower one. I have 100% Adobe RGB over here. There's some color spaces it doesn't fully support, but I'm not doing cinema and things like that. I'm just doing stuff for YouTube, and I used to do weddings and things like that, so I don't need anything more than that. But to answer the question, yes, BenQ. Highly recommend BenQ.
Yeah, they are expensive. Hey, many of us, when I used to do stuff, other people did stuff, and I wish I would have paid more attention. I'd be a lot smarter. Now, to be honest, if you're not doing weddings or short films or commercials or stuff like that for YouTube, you really don't, this is my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, you really don't need to dive into which LUT am I using and color correcting and shooting in log and shooting in raw and spending hours and hours and hours color correcting your YouTube video. If it's close and it looks good, you're done. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I agree. You don't have to necessarily deep dive or anything like that. Exactly what you said. I 100% agree with that.
Cool.
Yep.
That's
Nothing
great.
to expand on it.
Ian Craig, I find color correction for theatrical work can be dodgy. If you rely just on scopes, it wrongly corrects the lighting. I've tried correcting and then using a LUT, but actually just adjusting by I can often give a better result with less manipulation of the bits in the end. What do you think?
He's mostly right. Like I said, your scopes are definitely your source of truth, but you're doing this, you're grading videos for people to watch. So even if everything's technical or looks technically right on the scopes, you have to make the executive decision yourself. Even if you put everything in place, if you look up at the footage and it doesn't look right, you kind of have to go with what you see. Which brings us back to as far as calibrating your monitor. So if that's off and everything else is off, you may be fooled into thinking it looks okay. But yeah, he's right. A lot of the times you kind of want to do a balance of both. You want to check the scopes, check the footage, kind of make sure everything looks okay.
Cool. Ian, I also find that some LUTs can introduce noise in 8-bit, unfortunately.
It can, because sometimes some of them adjust the exposure, and if it's underexposed, like we were saying before, if the face is underexposed and you apply a LUT and it kicks it up, then there comes the noise. Then you get to see all the noise. So they definitely can. They definitely can.
Yeah. In Premiere Pro, me. What's the best way to apply any type of correction? What I've been doing is adding an adjustment layer on top of the original clip. Is there a better way? I personally, like, I'll have an edit where I have this clip, this, and maybe I want to crush the blacks, making it a bit richer. I don't go through every single clip and correct them or copy and paste it. I just run an adjustment layer over those clips. If I want to do something to the whole thing, I'll run an adjustment layer across the top. Frankly, for my videos, they're not perfect. I have dialed in my camera to what I like. I create the video. Then I run an adjustment layer over the whole damn thing where I crush the blacks a tiny bit. I add a tiny bit of sharpness, not here. And I'm done. And I export, see you later, bye. I think adjustment layers are great. Now in DaVinci Resolve, I really
Don't
need
use layers.
to open this up. So you don't use adjustment layers, you use nodes, correct?
Right, correct. There actually is an adjustment layer in, if you wanted to emulate what you do in Premiere Pro, there is actually an adjustment layer in DaVinci Resolve. I don't do that because they do have what's called a timeline option. So if you wanted to apply something to the whole timeline, you can just add a node in there, which is it's essentially the same thought as a layer. It functions differently, but if you want to make a side-by-side comparison. But yeah, that's what I would do. I don't use adjustment layers in DaVinci Resolve, but right, DaVinci Resolve uses nodes as opposed to Premiere Pro and layers.
Which I hear you're going to make a video about. Really simple, so people in DaVinci can understand it, which is basically me.
Right. After you harassed me and threatened me.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Jake Sloan will be like, don't ask him to harass you. I've been harassing this guy about his drone course.
He's coming
All
out
in
with a drone
fun.
course?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
All in fun.
Oh, I know.
Because, you know me, I joke about everything. Well,
Oh, I know you. Yeah.
except not important things. But I joke with him, and I come on to his live streams. Hey, is there going to be your course done yet? Usually because, like me on the color correction course, I'm really behind. So I figure if I point at somebody else, no one will notice. Jim Robinson, I was wondering what sort of LUT and effect I want to get for filming my mother-in-law's funeral soon. Oh, man. Dude, that is just freaking wrong. There is
That's
nothing
awesome.
right about that.
No. Good. though.
What color setting, hey, Wilderness, is good to put out on YouTube?
Yeah,
I'll let you fire at this. I don't think there's a color setting.
Yeah. It depends on what you mean. If we're going back to what we said before, like Rec 709 and stuff like that, it could be that, but a particular setting, yeah, I don't know specifically. That's a good question.
Yeah. What color setting? I wonder if he's talking about Rec 709 or 603 or whatever the hell that is.
Maybe.
I don't think it matters. I mean, it's YouTube. You're not, unless you're creating short films or commercial for a client or something.
Yep.
I've done some wacky stuff on my channel as a test that people didn't know about. Like I have videos on there where I went through and I ran an adjustment layer over it and made it yellow. Like, ooh, who peed all over this video?
What
No
is
one
wrong?
said anything. I was like, wow. My next monitor will be the BenQ PD3420Q. I hate these naming
I know.
things.
Yeah, I know.
The BenQ. Let's go take a look at this.
BenQ is famous for that. One of mine is 2700U, and yeah.
PD3420Q 34 inch. Hey, 34 inch.
And that's a good size if you're going to do something with like 4K footage. I know if I put 4K at full resolution on my 27-inch, it barely readable.
I can't find it. I don't have the same problem. That's why I spent stupid money for this dude. It's a curved monitor. When I got it, I'll never use a not curved monitor ever again, because what it does is your direct look, no matter where you look. It's also a 4K monitor, and I paid like $900 for this thing. 34, 36 inch. I love this thing to death. That being said, I keep it in 1080 because it it gets really small and it's hard for me to see. So if I were like, if that were a 4K monitor, I might buy it, but everything gets way too small for me.
Yep. I mean, you have the scaling options too, but still, it's really hard to see.
Hey, Dave, did you make that node video yet?
Not yet, but I expect that you'll remind me many, many times.
I love nodes much better than layers. For one thing, in Fusion, the nodes show you how it's doing. It's kind of like built-in documentation. Hey, let me just say this, and maybe Dave can back me up, or we can have a fight. Hey, we're at 57 minutes. We got to wrap up soon. If you use Premiere Pro, use Premiere Pro. If you use DaVinci, use DaVinci. Like, use what you have, and this, well, the color grading and nodes are better and over here. You should leave what you're used to using and come over to what I think you can use, and vice versa, and blah, blah, blah. Just make the frickin' videos and quit spending all your time, unless you're into that, and spending all your time bouncing between software, because a year from now, you're going to bounce to something else. That's my opinion. What do you think, Dave?
No, I agree. As far as, and especially depending on what you're doing. I mean, I like DaVinci Resolve, but there's a reason I like it. I'm comfortable with the software. It does what I want it to. But yeah, it really doesn't matter. If anyone was to ask for a suggestion, it really wouldn't matter. And if you're making YouTube videos, you can still make them in either piece of software. So big picture, doesn't matter.
I agree. Luca, opinions, tips for creating a signature or memorable grade style, and any shortcomings in general to avoid, which might be headache or eyesore inducing when grading. You can answer that, because I'm not even sure I understand the question. It's not your question, it's me.
Yeah. Well, especially the second part, just stepping away from the monitor, not only to reduce eyesore and things like that, and I've noticed this, I've heard this a while back, and I noticed this myself. If I make a grade, I think it looks great, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to export, I walk away, maybe I want to grab something to drink or whatever, I come back. It's funny how your eyes do adjust. So in reference to the second part of that question, just walking away for a little while. Don't try to knock everything out in one sitting is essentially what I'm saying. Do what you need to do, make the adjustments, walk away, come back. If it still looks good, fantastic, then you're all set. But yeah, as far as that, opinions for creating a signature or memorable grade, it's up to you. Yeah. That's a personal choice, really, to be honest.
Hey, you're right. When I started years and years and years ago on YouTube, well, being in front of the camera, I've been behind the camera a lot. Coming in front, piece of cake. No. And I did a lot of editing, but usually other people edited. Should be a piece of cake. No. Color grading and color correction. How How hard can it be? The point of walking away that Dave just made, man, I sat there for 6 hours color grading and correcting and doing a video, and it looked great. And I walked away. I came away the next morning. I was appalled at it was awful. I mean, I had sparkly sharpness around me. I had the colors were all off because, and I cover this in the course, the best ability to go from white balance and everything else is your eyeballs. When you watch an old movie, you watch someone's video, it takes your eyeballs about 10 seconds to adjust. You go outside, you adjust. You come inside, you adjust. You take your camera and do that and go outside. It's like, where else? If you're on auto,
Yeah.
let's change to sunlight and go inside. It's all yellow. And so the walk away thing, I think, if you're doing color correction and color grading,
To piggyback off what you just said, that's when years ago, that's when I noticed that there was a problem as sharpening. I had sharpened something. I thought it looked good. I'm like, oh, this is great. Like you said, walked away, came back, and I was like, oh, yeah. Stepping away from it and looking at it again, you can really see how far you've gone. And then you can, and that's when the biggest tip I can give for color grading is be subtle. It's just, you think you're not doing a lot, but you are. And the more you do, the worse it is. So if there's any one tip I can leave you with, just be subtle, because it is doing more than you think it is.
we're at an hour, and that's a good way to wrap this up. As we were talking, adjustment layers or nodes or whatever, turn off the node or the adjustment layer, look at it for 10 or 20 seconds, turn it back on, and see what you did. It's kind of the same as walking away. Turn it off, turn it on. Because sometimes you'll turn it off, and you go, oh, yeah, I'm correcting this. You turn it back on, and you're like, ah!
Yeah. Yep. I mean, to be fair, sometimes you might not be doing a lot, but again, you might be pushing the sliders too far and not even, realize it. So,
Yep. We'll answer 2 more questions, and then we got to blow because I'm at an hour and 3 minutes, and I promised
Okay.
to keep these to an hour. I've been practicing. I have 6 monitors. Wow. Different brands, and they all look different. How do you really know what your colors are versus what random TV monitors look like? I think we covered that with the calibration tool.
yep, calibration tool, and as long as yours is calibrated, don't worry about everybody else. You're not going to be obviously you're not going to be able to go to everybody's house and make the adjustments. So, unfortunately, it is what it is as far as those go.
Yes, and if you just joined us, Rob, affiliate link is in here below. It's not below. It's whatever.
It's above.
Last question, then we got to blow. Let people get back to their day. Jim Robinson. Hey, Jim. Stare at a slightly yet yellow tinted white square for a few seconds, and your brain will white balance, and you will see white. Absolutely. The middle gray background in Resolve, when in highlight, is to help with that. What's he talking about?
You can, if you select something, let's say I wanted to select the colors on my face, there's a highlight mode, and what it will do is change the rest of everything, like the background in this case, and just highlight my face. So, yeah, he's right about those things. Yeah, Jim's a pretty smart guy. But yeah, that's essentially what he's referring to.
Cool. Yeah,
Yep.
again, like walking indoors, looks normal. Walking outdoors, looks normal. You do that with your camera, and you're going to see what's going on. So
Yeah.
that's actually good. Like in here, especially if you're like if I had yellow indoor 3200K lights, and I was trying to color correct or color grade or edit, I would absolutely have that vector scope up. Or I would make sure, it's just me. This is the thing with me. I make sure I have about 5,000, 5,200K lights, both in my main studio and here. So that seems to me to work. What do you think?
that can work. You just don't want, well, obviously you don't want to grade with something like this with the different colors. Yeah, I mean, that should work. What I do is I mostly grade in the dark, so there's no color bleed anywhere as far as the lights are concerned, and all my walls are white, so I don't have any. That's the other problem you might run into is if there's a lot of color bouncing off the walls, that may kind of mess up your vision too. So
That wall behind you is white?
not right now, but yeah, normally.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really nice, man. I could have sworn it was blue. I guess it's the same thing. Turn off my backlights. That wall is this tannish, browny, whatever. A few people are like, use that. No. Add some background. Anyway, we're out of time. I appreciate y'all coming on, asking your questions. You can go check out Dave. I think I put the link somewhere to his channel somewhere.
It's in here somewhere.
I'll put it in the description. I think I already did, actually. And go check out his channel. Learn about DaVinci. Learn about color correction. Learn about... He also does really good reviews. Really good. And check out his channel. Also, I just dropped a link in here. If you want to learn more about color correction and color grading, go check out the course. I'm going to be wrapping it up this coming next week. It's been reduced because it's a pre-release to $39. I know. My wife wants to shoot me in the face.
What are you doing?
I know, like, hello, you spent months on this. What are you doing? I want to get it to people. Do not take that course unless A, you want a refresher, B, you want to learn the basics and the terms simply described, C, you want to know what's going on, and jump into more advanced stuff. If you're already in advanced, you know all about this, unless you just want to throw me some money, which is okay, don't take the course because you will be disappointed. Thanks, y'all. Hey, there we go. Dave's channel.
Yeah.
There's the link.
Thanks, Jake.
Hey, Mr. Andrade, thank you so much for joining us today, answering all our questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you all at coming in here next week. It's funny, I have Jake Sloan's deal up here. Next week, we're going.
You have Mr. Sloan.
That doesn't work.
Nope.
Oh, I remember now. Hold on. I had this set up because that didn't work. Next week, boom, we're going to have that guy. Oh, that guy. Drones. Drone expert. 6 days, next Saturday. That dude right there.
I'll be there.
Alaska guy. He's going to answer all your questions about drones and mine. I've flown mine 10 times and I hit a tree 6 times. And hopefully he'll have his course done by then. And
no pressure or anything.
I can go through it. Anyway, I really appreciate y'all joining us. Dave, thank you, sir.
Yep,
thank you, guys, everyone in the chat for your questions and everything else. I'm just going to end this broadcast. So should I end the broadcast, just end it, or should I do that silly music video where I'm rocking out?
Being a musician, I think you should do the rocking out. That's my vote. Is that
it's going to look terrible on here, but I'll do that. Okay, we'll do the rock out video. Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate it. And we'll see y'all next week.